Hello everyone! In today's video, we are finally checking out the other Hall Effect stick modules for the PS4, PS5 and Xbox controllers. These modules are made by Zeng and they have a special board that will correct the jitter and calibrate the circularity test of the analog sticks. And for the Xbox controllers, there is another special board that is more resistant to the interference caused by the left trigger. Also, the Xbox kit has a few more components that you should use in the installation. He also sends a new stick box in case you don't like the default one. They're nearly identical, but the new stick boxes seems to be more resistant. To start this mod, you'll have to disassemble your controller almost entirely. I would do a step-by-step tutorial, but it will make this video really long, so I'm leaving links to these videos in the description from other channels. First step, we'll need to desolder the analog sticks. And to do that, my favorite tool is this desoldering pump. It is fully automatic and it makes your job much easier. Using a lot of flux will definitely help too. With the sticks desoldered, insert the new Hall Effect modules in place. And pay attention here that this middle terminal on each side should have an insulating tube. Start by detaching this part of the board and pre-solder these pads on the controller. These will be harder to solder after you put the board in, as you see here. Then you can start by soldering these two pads. For the Dualsense controller, pay attention that the board is covering one of the pads of the rumble motors. To fix that, you can use one of the wires that came with the kit to extend the connection. Like this. Start by soldering one pad and use it to recenter the board. You can melt the solder and reposition it to the correct angle. Here is a guide with all of the points that needs to be soldered. The middle terminal can be very tricky as solder won't flow into the board directly because of the insulation tube. So if you too are having trouble, use a small piece of the wire. This way, the solder will flow through the wire to the correct spot. This should be a connection between the correction board and the controller board, and not with the analog stick terminal. With a multimeter, you can check the connections. Now, you'll need to cut the insulating tube and expose the middle terminal of the analog stick. You don't want to cut it too much, or else you're gonna bridge the connection between the terminal and the board. I'm going to use these coated wires. If you don't want to buy these wires, you can get it from any old PC fan. You should solder the wire directly to the terminal, like this. Then connect it to this point of the board, like this. And the connections must be made to the other terminal too. We're finally done. There's a few more points that must be soldered differently if you have a DualShock 4 or a Dualsense. Here's the board with all of the connections done. I know it's dirty, there's a lot of flux, but I won't clean it this time as the connections are very fragile. Here's the connections with the rumble motors. And you can even see the LEDs light up when you press the reset button. For the Xbox controller, the process is almost the same. Just pay attention that the green board must be placed on the left stick. And here's the test pads for the Xbox controller to check the connections with the middle terminal. Here's how it should look on the left stick. And here's the right stick. Note that the diode is soldered in a different position. The calibration is the same for both controllers, but I'll demonstrate it in the Xbox one. To make it easier, you should remove the battery. The left stick is calibrated and you can see how good the circularity is. So let's see how to calibrate the right stick. There are three modes. Mode A to calibrate the center point, Mode S to calibrate the circularity, and Mode B to calibrate each direction. Let's start with Mode A by turning the controller on while tilting the stick in any direction. Here you can use the stick to align the center point. When you're done, press on the stick to save the settings. Now the center point is correct, but the circularity isn't, so let's fix that. Let's enter Mode S by turning the controller on while pressing the stick. Now just move the stick in circles and press it to save the settings. Now the circularity is good, but it's not reaching the edges of the circle. And to fix that, we're gonna use the Mode B. You must press the stick and tilt it. Adjust the position by moving the stick and press it to save the settings. And we must do that to all four directions. Now everything is good, but it's still not perfect. A few points are not reaching the full range. That's because we need to overshoot the calibration in each direction by a few steps. Pay attention to the number here. I will set it to 1, and now we'll overshoot it in 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. This will ensure that the stick will reach full range in all directions. And now we have the correct calibration. It is not a perfect circularity, but it's better than the stock circularity of these controllers. And you can recalibrate it as many times as you want. If you have patience, you can get better results. Also, if you turn the controller while tilting the sticks accidentally, it will enter the calibration modes. But you should not worry, because the settings are only saved when you press on the stick. And since I didn't press on the stick here, the calibration is unaffected. And the center dead zone is 0, it will pick up even the smallest movements. The calibration modes can also be triggered in the console. But as I've explained before, if that happens, all you have to do is turn off the controller and turn it on again, and then it will be fine. On the Dualsense, you'll have a small gap when you close it, because of the boards. Here's the comparison with an unmodded controller. And on the Xbox controller, the left trigger will be a bit more noisy. That noise comes from the trigger bumping on the board below. And that's it for this video. Now, which module is better? Well, the installation on these modules is very hard. One of the hardest that I ever made in this channel. And I don't recommend trying this for yourself unless you have the right tools and a lot of experience with soldering. If you still really want this, I recommend going to a game repair shop and ask someone there to do it for you. They have plenty experience with soldering like this. The orange modules are much easier to install, but then you won't have all of the corrections that Zeng's board applies. In the end, the choice is up to you. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.